Side. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And coming back to have a look at concluding 117 minutes of The Lost World, we have Jay back. Hello, Jay.
What's up, guys? What's going on?
Not a lot, man, not a lot. We're going to do a bit of just a look back at the film on the whole. We sort of did a bit of a film recap back with the 20th anniversary of the film. We sort of went through, but Jay, you had to leave halfway through that record, so there's a chance here for you to sort of cover some of the other things you didn't mention in that episode. Or it's been a while and now you've sort of probably seen the film a couple more times, your ideas or thoughts might have changed. But getting straight into the first topic here we're going to discuss is if we feel it was a natural progression from Jurassic Park, sort of going from Jurassic Park into this. As much as I want to try and keep the novel and film separate, we're going to have to go into a bit of a novel talk here as well, just sort of how Crichton decided to write his sequel to Jurassic Park as a sequel to the novel and not to the film.
Mm-hmm.
And like reading that Lost World novel, there's not a lot. Well, there isn't really anything in that novel that sort of pulls from Jurassic Park the film. It's all a sequel to his first novel.
Yeah.
Now, I do think that both the novel and the film are perfect progressions from their respective predecessors. I think that the novel is a little clunkier and follows the formula a little bit more than the movie does. The movie becomes essentially its own animal, which I think is fantastic. It's honestly feels like it is the best place to have gone after Jurassic Park.
Definitely. I completely agree with that. I think it's the best sequel we've had.
Yeah. And it's hard too because I know hearing some fans, even Kyle and Brody had done the Jurassic Park minute, was sort of when they were discussing the Lost World. They were hoping more of what we got with Fallen Kingdom, sort of returning to Jurassic Park, the ruins and all that there. Now in the novel that couldn't have happened because of course Nublar was sort of bombed by Costa Rican government at the end there. So in novel wise, you couldn't go back to Nublar unless, of course, as the tagline we got for the film, something has survived. So having Crichton sort of lead the way with where the sequel is going to go, introducing the second island not too far away, where, as Malcolm says in the novel, you're making dinosaurs isn't just a clear cut business. You're sort of like, out of maybe 100 eggs, 5 of them might survive. You need a large manufacturing space. Even going off Jurassic Park the film, like we see 1 or 2 incubators with probably a dozen eggs, if that, where that sort of laboratory, it's all in one little contained space in the visitor centre. Whether or not there's more research areas on island that we just didn't see in the film, it's sort of hinted to in Jurassic World with that sign that Colin put in there instead of the East Dock sign. But it sort of made sense that, right, we're going to have this larger production area to populate a park. Like they're making a zoo here, not a little a 4-animal exhibit.
Yeah, well, even with that, if you read the novel Evolution of Claire, which I did a review on, it says that Jurassic World took the dinosaurs from Sorna and then brought them back to Nublar, and Nublar has a facility of making dinosaurs there, but to fill up the park, they had to take some of those dinosaurs out. So Nublar just doesn't have the space or probably the facilities to compensate for that much of a factory floor, you know?
Well, even time to produce from embryo to even all the DNA extraction, like, yes, they had the supercomputers for filling in the sequence gaps and all that, like, all that research they would have had to done before the park was even built. Like, they had to have a concept, and I think, as we sort of talked before about Hammond and Wu going to Japanese investors with that, in the novel it's a pygmy elephant, where they could sit there and say, well, we can do this sort of stuff. And it's one, I was going to save it for the Fallen Kingdom review, but it's one sort of thing that's a little bit iffy in that, where the whole origins of what we get, InGen and everything else, was in that lab under Lockwood's mansion, where him and Hammond sort of worked in the beginning. But you go to the novel, and that's the whole reason they're in Costa Rica, is to get away from US sanctions and all the genetic research restrictions and all that sort of stuff that they were hiding from. They went to Costa Rica to hide from the world to do this research, where in the films it's sort of, no, it's just a tropical resort location that we selected. Hammond wanted something larger and grander than Jurassic Park San Diego, so we moved everything down there. So it's just one of those weird things. We're just trying to have to adapt the novel where you got so much information, and we talked about this before, like with the Fallen Kingdom talk, about just like having Mr. DNA, a 5-minute little sort of video on the tour that sort of condenses 3 or 4 chapters from that first book of just how they done it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like having that island makes more sense. Having a second island like that. Mm-hmm. So I think it is a natural progression from Jurassic Park. I think Crichton went the right way with it, and I think even putting in the films, even though in the films Nublar was not destroyed, but having another island was just I don't know. It got me more intrigued when you started seeing merchandise and stickers and stuff with something has survived. There's another island with dinosaurs. They're roaming free. There's no fences this time. You know, all that type of stuff gets your mind just, whoa, what's going on? You know, you're so used to such a confined space kind of situation when you get in Jurassic Park. That's what I feel made me love Lost World so much more, because it's their world basically that we were going into. Jurassic Park, when we go into Jurassic Park, we're controlling it, or we have this conceptual idea that we're actually having control over everything. But
you
Lost
never have
World,
the control. That's the illusion.
No, yeah, exactly. You have that illusion when you walk in there and you see these buildings, you see the electrified fence, you see all these like dinosaur like handlers and all that. So you have this illusion in your head where you're like, oh well, this is a space where they're being controlled. They have their spaces. They have this. Once they all break free, it's a little different. But when just knowing that there's an island where they're free all the time, basically, and the ones that are being confined and being controlled to this little space are the humans, is such a great concept. And I just felt like Lost World took that, and just like what they showed us was great. Just seeing the animals in a natural habitat was one of the things I loved most about the film, and how it showed like that these animals. Well, one thing that I really loved as well was the fact that they showed these animals they nurtured their young. You know, if they weren't these cold-blooded lizards that would just eat their babies or leave them out to like grow on their own or whatever, they showed a stegosaur herd family with a baby. They showed the T-Rexes really caring about their son. You know, so it's like all this together is such a different aspect from the first film, where it's all manufactured. Even though these ones were manufactured as well, this one is showing them more in their natural habitat and as animals living on their own, doing their own thing. Like we had nothing to do with it, basically, almost. And the other one is pretty much like, this is what we've created. Check it out. It's in a fenced area. Look at it. You know. The other one's more like, that's nature. Send National Geographic down there. Yeah,
they've had 4 years. They've had 4 years to just survive on their own. And they're flourishing.
And nature took over, and it's so great to see that, and it makes more sense too with what Malcolm's been saying the entire time in the first film, that life finds a way, and every nature will take course. You can do whatever you want, but nature's gonna do what it's supposed to do, and Lost World is the proof of that. Jurassic Park is just the beginning of that. It's just the idea, like, yeah, it's gonna happen. Check this out. This is what's going on now. But like, Lost World this is what it was supposed to happen the entire time. This is them. This is their world, and that's why the only reason is because it was on that island. It's not been expanded. They weren't out in our world. But basically, the moment they step off that boat, they have no control whatsoever. They are the strangers, the visitors, and it's great. So I think film and book-wise, complete natural progression. That's why I say it is the natural and best sequel in the series to Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, but...
Yeah. No, I definitely agree there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the idea of Sorna itself is what really has always intrigued me about the Lost World period.
So mysterious.
Exactly. That it's this island where it has so many secrets hidden inside of it. I mean, you look at just take a look at the worker village. You just look at it and you're like, what happened here? What was the daily life? We have so many secrets behind that worker village that, I mean, you can only, mapping it as I did, it can only teach you so much about it, you know? I mean, there's things that I'll always ask about it. And when I think about the other things, like, what's behind that rock? What's behind that tree? I mean, The Lost World is such a mysterious movie, but it also offers a lot of exposition. And I think that's something that the novel did really well with, is taking the exposition and not just justifying its existence, but retroactively saying that Jurassic Park was unfinished, that it had to have this huge yield to create just one adult specimen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm finished.
Yeah, and it's sort of one of the things. Just to briefly dip the toe into Jurassic Park 3, like again, I know there's a lot of people that go, well, how come? I know there's even some people that think that we're back at the worker village when Grant and that find the lab, but that aside, it's sort of just you're seeing more parts of the island that you didn't see in the previous film. You know, it's the same island, or you're back on the same island. It just shows how big it is, and it sort of again sort of gives you little tidbits about what InGen was doing there.
It was.
And what else? What else is there? Like,
yeah, it was the experimental island. It was where they were like, what can we create? What can we make? You know, and even though I'm not a big fan of JP3, it expanded on that when they were like, that wasn't on InGen's list. You know, like it makes you start. That's where we were already introduced to the mystery of Sorna in Lost World, and then it expanded on it in JP3. It just sucks that movie's not that great, but that's just the thing, you know. Like, it's I don't know, man. Lost for words. It's just perfect to me how it went from Jurassic Park to Lost World, and then kind of lost its way after that, I think. But you know,
and even the what was I going to say? The sort of pulling. Oh no, it was more Jurassic related. With the park, the failing of the park, and life will find a way. And that it's sort of much like Mr. DNA, how you're pulling a few chapters into this one little thing. The whole Nedry being the reason the park falls, or why the whole thing sort of goes up in a cloud of smoke. In the novel, you're sort of pulling 3 or 4 different plot points together and making it just Nedry in the film. Where the novel, you've got they were only scanning for a certain amount of animals. You had raptors on the boat trying to leave. You had all these other things coming in. Even sort of the sick Triceratops or Stegosaur in the novel, where they got no idea what's wrong with it. They're sort of done their best at looking at what's wrong with it, but they just got no idea because. And I'm pretty sure Malcolm sort of grills Arnold or Hammond about that in the novel. It's like, you hear making these things, but you've got no idea how to care for them or how to look after them.
He even mentioned that the Stegosaurus was breathing heavily just because the oxygen levels were so much higher than they were back in the Jurassic period, you know?
Yep.
And his lungs physically just were not made to take in that much oxygen.
Yeah, because there's a lot more methane and CO2 in the air back then than what there was now. Like, they've done ice core samples and that, but... yeah, but anything else on sort of the natural progression you want to bring up before we get into the next topic?
I think I'm alright.
Yeah. But I do agree, like, sort of across the franchise, going from film to film, even just sort of Jurassic Park into Lost World into JP3, and then you can sort of have the World Series, Jurassic World into Fallen Kingdom. It's sort of Jurassic World into Fallen Kingdom is pretty much, is much the same, where again you sort of at the end of Jurassic World, you've left the park, Granted, you do get that final scene of the Tyrannosaur that we don't get. All we get in Jurassic Park is sort of Hammond looking back from the helipad and the Brachiosaurs trumpeting in the distance, which again is another one of those heartstring pullers. But you sort of, that's all you get. Then the film's over. Whether, again, not knowing how it was going to do, sequels in mind, everything else. So yeah, I do think it's one of the better progressions between the films in general, let alone sequels. But
after the accident in the park, Hurricane Clarissa wiped out our facility on Site B. Call it an act of God. Life will find a way, as you once so eloquently put it.
Going up next, favourite characters. I suppose we talked briefly about the people going to sauna and not having any idea. I'll bring up Malcolm first, coming back, being the one returning, or the main returning character from Jurassic Park. It's sort of funny. It's much like when the Kirbys get Grant to sauna, and like, you've been here, you've seen all this, and he's going, no, I've never been this on. It's not discussed, but Malcolm's sort of the same, where you've got this character coming back. Hammond wants him to go to the island with this team to document the animals, and the only real animals he's seen the Brachiosaur in Jurassic Park. He was chased by the T-Rex, and then he was in the bunker for the rest of the film. we discussed it during the minute with the long grass, where he hears the raptors and like, run as fast as you can. That's the first time he's interacting with raptors.
One thing I do have to say about the Ian Malcolm character is the idea that that this was this character who was always Crichton's conscience, I guess you could call him.
Yep.
He was, and that's kind of the primary reason he's brought back for the Lost World novel. But something that he became in the movie was this kind of witty cynic. And something that a lot of people say they missed from the first movie is Malcolm's kind of dry wit. But if you look at the character in The Lost World, he still has that same wit. It's just a lot drier. Yeah. It's a lot more of a dry, sarcastic wit. And I think I like that wit better than the kind of goofball wit that he displays in the first movie, where he's kind of just slapping his knees and humming to himself and laughing like a maniac, I suppose, in the helicopter. And I like how he takes on this, in The Lost World, he takes on this role of the hero, not because he wants to, but because he needs to. Yeah. And I like that he's still not so much a hero, he's just trying to stop the bad guys from succeeding. Which, I mean, I suppose if you want to call that the hero, you can, but I mean, he's not really an anti-hero, but I would say he's more of a protagonist in the movie than anything. He's like the one true protagonist in The Lost World.
Yeah. I suppose you can sort of, to bring in the Star Wars comparisons, one thing the original trilogy fans like about it is you've got Han Solo there, that's sort of that sarcastic character where you got people talking about plot and that is like, really? Is this a thing? And all that, and it sort of seems the same here, where you've got Malcolm on the island. It's like, what do you think you're going to document? What do you think you're going to see? And all the way through the film, where yes, okay, he hasn't been there, but he's the one that's experienced it and sort of knows how things are going to happen, more so from his experience with Jurassic Park than the whole chaos thing. But yeah, it's just interesting to see him come back and sort of be this changed character. He survived his injury in Costa Rica. He tried to go public with it and was made into a laughingstock by InGen.
Yeah, and people don't realize that's what's going to happen. I mean, you kind of lose your naivety after, I won't say innocence because, I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I just won't say it. But he wasn't really a naive character. He was the character who actually knew everything that was going to happen before it actually happened. But you do lose, maybe the innocence is the better word. You lose this kind of, your edge is kind of dulled a bit after you've been through war, you know? I guess is the best analogy.
No, that's a good point. That's what people seem to not understand when they question his characterization in the movie, and they keep asking, "Where's the funny, Malcolm? Where's the jokes?" Like, are you really gonna be that joking and funny and whatnot when not only did you almost lose your leg, but you almost lost your life? You've seen people put in danger. You know that a couple people that you met that day didn't go in that helicopter with you. You know, I don't think you're going to go into a situation the same way and be like, all right, time to make jokes. I can't wait to see these dinosaurs again. I can't wait to get my leg almost ripped off and see some of these other friends of mine. Oh, my girlfriend's on the island alone? Oh, that's nice. We can have our honeymoon there. That's great. You know, you're not going to go in like that. Yeah. And that's the one nitpick that lots of people have. Oh, Malcolm's not the same. If he was the same, it would just be bad writing. It just, you know what I mean? It would not work. It's not a progression of his character arc. You know, he has a character arc. You know, in the beginning of the movie, he's the one making all the jokes in Jurassic Park. But at the same time, he's the one foreshadowing and warning everybody what's going to happen. Once it happens and he's injured, he's the one pretty much saying, like, I told you so. This is what's going to happen. I told you it's going to happen. In the next movie, he's the one goes in there, tries to save, goes in there already with this, like, notion in his head where, oh, my God, what else can go wrong? Because I know what's going to go wrong. Just like in the beginning, he says it. Ooh, it's so fun. And then there's screaming, and you know what I mean? Like, and he's right, and he's absolutely right about it. And I mean, he goes from this type of character that everybody seems to want to be the comical character, and they don't understand that characters change through different movies.
And it's almost like the choice they made with Grant in Jurassic Park 3, sort of as well. Sort of just having that PSD and having a character affected by what he went through in the previous film. He's sort of, the whole discussion between him and Ludlow at the start sort of also makes you, or lets you know where he is now in his life. Sort of, he's been disgraced. His goal was to let people know that InGen had done this, and he'd just been made a laughing stock. I suppose we're not going to go through characters one by one, otherwise we'll be here for another 6 hours. But any characters you want to bring up or discuss? I think I could just mention Sarah Harding briefly and Julianne Moore. Where I love Julianne, it's just sort of, I would have preferred more of a novel-based Sarah, just more of that, bit more action-based. Even though they take away a lot of that stuff in the film with what she done in the novel, but she does sort of get running through the kiln house and all that, so she does get a couple of action set pieces. There's a couple of issues mid-film with blood on jacket and all that sort of thing, but that's just plot for the sake of plot. They needed a way for the Tyrannosaurs to keep following them. Like Eddie too, sort of Eddie being one of those nice all-round characters, and then being pulled entwined by the two Tyrannosaurs, just
yeah, it's actually one of the other topics. It would be like,
oh, rightio.
Yeah.
I love Vince Vaughn in here as well. It's one character I'd love to see come back, and especially with Fallen Kingdom, I would have loved to see him either on the DPG or involved there somewhere. It would have been probably one of the easier ways for a character return from the past films, with not so much.
Definitely.
Not so much either retconning or having to make up a good reason why he'd be back. He's a environmental terrorist.
Yeah. He would have been perfect to be like part of that group, already on the island setting stuff off.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, it's just, I don't know, missed opportunities. I guess another character that we should bring up before we move to another topic is Roland Tembo.
Yep.
Oh, he's my favorite now. Yeah.
He is. Oh man, he's one of the best characters, I think, in the series. That the hunter, the philosophical hunter. He's great, and the actor Pete Postlethwaite, amazing. He's just a phenomenal actor as it is, and he took on that role and he ran with it, man. He is him and Malcolm, Malcolm, because Malcolm's just a very likable and fair. He is my favorite character, yes, but Roland's just like a character from that movie that's super memorable. You know him, and I just love his last scene where he's like, I think I spent enough time in the company of death. I was like, oh. Because it's giving me goosebumps right now. Like, I love that line. And he's just sitting there, and how badass is it that he's sitting there next to a sleeping T-Rex? Like, that thing can wake up any minute. He's just sitting there. He's just like...
His mind's on RJ not making it. He's not even thinking
That's
about the
true.
dinosaur. Yeah.
That's true, but still.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'd be sad about something, but I'd be sitting at the tree across from the T-Rex.
It's one of those things with you can sort of, in comparison with sort of Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart as well, just these classically trained theatre actors that, okay, Pete Postlethwaite might not have done as many high, like big franchise films as what the other two, or projects as what the other two have done, but just the presence on screen, like we talked about when we first meet him in that Jeep talking down to Ludlow, and the whole dialogue or monologue he has there, and how it's sort of, you don't need the Mubasa fight scene that was deleted because he sort of shows how much of a badass he is in that car, well, in that Jeep, telling Ludlow he can set up his base camp wherever he wants. And then his fee is just here to hunt the Tyrannosaur, male buck only. He doesn't want to be paid. He wants that thrill of the hunt again that he's sort of missed out on.
It's great character.
Yep. I suppose looking at the kid Kelly coming in as the child point of view, I don't think that she's well, a lot of the major set pieces, she's not even there. She's not there when with the trails going over the cliff. She's sort of in the high hide the whole time. The Stegosaur scene, she's not there. Once they start trekking towards the worker village, she is, but even then she sort of has a little scene at the end in the kiln house, and then is gone again for the rest of the film. Whereas you sort of compare to Tim and Lex, where they're there in the thick of it for most of it. Even Eric at the end too, where he's getting picked up by the pteranodons and that. Part of a couple of scenes there. But I know there's a lot of hate for the gymnastics scene. I understand that, but it's sort of set up at the start of the film that that's what's going to happen, and foreshadows it a little bit. But and I suppose Ludlow too, being that the villain, again, much like Wells and that in Fallen Kingdom, where you just have that money. He sees that T-Rex and just dollar signs.
Yeah, he was a good villain. He had a good motive to what he was doing. And I felt he was a very snaky type character, especially that line where he says, "This suit costs more than your education." That's when you hear him say that, you're just like, you're off. You jerk.
It's at that point you go, right, how are you going out? There's no way you're surviving the end of this film.
Nope.
Ludlow is the kind of character you'd love to hate. Just because, I mean, he's like the Dolores Umbridge of the Jurassic Park franchise. Just because he's just such an ass to everybody. He's incompetent, he's a jerk, he's just... I mean, you love to hate him. He's easily dislikable.
Yeah. And it's sort of one of those sort of jumping back to natural progressions where in Jurassic Park, you could say Nedry's the bad guy in that, but only because of his actions. It's not really... It's greed, it's money. He's doing this because he wants money, but in that film, really the villain's the Tyrannosaur and the Raptors at the end, where the survivors are trying to escape from, and then as soon as we go into The Lost World... novel, you got Bison coming back and Dodson having a major role on Island there, but here you saw we're going to bring in a new head of InGen. He's going to be there. He wants profits. He's representing the board and everything else. And then in Jurassic Park 3 it sort of disappears again. We're going back to, okay, well, we've got the Raptors as the main antagonist here. We do have the mercenaries, but they don't really hang around for very long, and they're just mercenaries. Yeah, Cooper hits Grant in the back of the head, but it's not really villainous. So, any of the other characters you want to bring up before we move on? Like they all serve their purpose. Dieter, it's sort of, again, it's not really flushed out in the scripts. It sort of is where it's more of he's more sort of that guy that's mistreating the animals, and sort of like Wheatley in Fallen Kingdom. He's just sort of, you want him to get his comeuppance, but it's not really spelled out that much in the film itself. He's just apparently second in charge to Roland, and he's drinking or something and doesn't notice Nick and Sarah letting all the animals go, and he's pretty much putting the shit list after that, or the naughty corner, and then taken out by the compies.
Yeah. It's such a great scene.
Peter, if you want me to run your little camping trip, there are two conditions. Firstly, I'm in charge, and when I'm not around, Dieter is. All you need to do is sign the checks, tell us we're doing a good job, and open your case of scotch when we have a good day. Second condition, my fee. You can keep it. All I want in exchange for my services is the right to hunt one of the tyrannosaurs. A male, a buck only. How and why are my business. Now, if you don't like either of those two conditions, you're on your own. So go ahead, set up base camp right here, or in a swamp, or in the middle of a wreck's nest, for all I care. But I've been on too many safaris with rich dentists to listen to any more suicidal ideas. Okay? Okay.
All right. Favourite scene or set piece? I think
Trailers.
We talked. Yeah, I think when we done the discussion, I don't know if you were still on then, but I definitely said the trail sequence.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Um,
The rundown sequence is pretty good too.
Which one?
The Stampede rundown when they're trying to hunt them down. Game Trail. There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a great sequence.
Well, it's that one.
One of my favorites. Yeah, but I have to say, I think my favorite set piece or scene in general is the Tyrannosaurus crashing of the party there at the when they crash into the camp there at the ridge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
The build up to it where the male T-Rex is kind of cornered Kelly and Sarah in the tent, so all the way to the end where Roland shoots the Rex. I mean, it's perfect, you know. That is Lost World to me.
Yep.
Another scene.
It's that perfect build-up where you've got just the footsteps. It's going back to Jurassic Park. You got that boom, boom, boom. You've got waking Sarah in the tent, looking up, realizing what it is, looking up at the jacket above her. It's still got blood on it, even though they've walked through night with a heavy rainstorm. But you've got Malcolm in the creek backing up and walking and seeing the ripples in the water. He knows what's coming. And then just that silhouette of the Tyrannosaur on the tent. Just, oh, crap. And not only one, then the female comes out of left field as well, while Ludlow's while Roland's trying to get his gun to work. Like, it's fantastic. Jay, you had another scene you want to talk about?
I'm just going to say two words. Long grass.
Yeah.
That is a amazing scene. Like, you know, when you really think about it, there's so many great set pieces and scenes in this movie. It's like we could really just list them all day. Because that grass, the long grass scene, don't get into the long grass, and then there's just like rolling in there, and then little by little you just hear the snarls of the raptors, and like some of them start noticing, like, hey, where's the other guy? There's a guy behind me, and oh, boom, there's another one. You see the tail, and oh no, we're getting eaten, and bam, raptor there. Like in that scene, there's like 10 kills. It's so great.
Yeah. Yep. And like just seeing the raptors hunt, and they take down like a quarter or a third of that group before the one at the front finally makes itself seen, which makes them all turn around and run back towards where the other ones are. and then when Ian and crew come running out, and it's like, what the hell's going on here? And you can hear the screams, like people screaming in the background, off in the distance in the jungle somewhere. You can hear the shrill screams of the raptors as well as they're chasing people. It's just eerie the way it sort of just drifts through the jungle and over the grass.
And you know what's crazy too is that Malcolm never saw them. He only saw a baby, and then he kind of saw flashes of them, but he heard their sounds clearly when they were eating that steer. So when he noticed, he comes closer to the camera, and he's just like, what's going on? And then and then you just hear,
Yeah.
The purr, and he's like, run. Because he knew what they were, and he knew what Muldoon said about them. He knew what Alan... who knows the conversations they had inside the Explorer that we didn't hear? You know, if we're not looking at this as a movie perspective, but looking at it as, like, real life, like, they probably talked for hours in that car. Yeah. So who knows if he's like, oh, what do you really study? I study velociraptors. Yeah, you know that little baby that we saw? Oh, yeah, that thing? Oh, it was cute. It's cute now. Wait till it gets older. You know, like...
Yep.
So he's probably has full info in his head of what they're about to deal with, and he knows that, like, the T-Rex is big. They can see it, you know? I mean, they were able to outrun that one or whatever because of the group, whatever, but a Velociraptor, he probably in his head in that moment, he just heard Muldoon, like, saying how many miles an hour it can run, and it's just like, oh, that's it, we got to get out of here.
Yeah. Plus, you don't know what sort of group therapy or anything discussion between him, Grant, the kids after Jurassic Park either. Like,
oh yeah,
whether those therapy sessions, whether they will. Again, going back to the novel, they all ended up back in Costa Rica in a hotel room for a couple of weeks while Costa Rica were working out what to do with them after Hammond's death, and no one really being in charge of InGen at that time. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I suppose the other one too. It's a set piece we probably talked the most about in the minute run, and even had a couple of bonus episodes. Just the Worker Village sequence from when sort of Nick runs in there and gives us our first look at it, then all the way up until they leave in the helicopter. Just again having the Raptors in there, using that physical set in that large set area, how much detail on that and work went into it for stuff that wasn't even filmed. And yeah, just fantastic the way it all sort of plays out in there. And again, just that mysteriousness of it. It's sort of, as you said before, with Sauna being back with all these animals released on their own, no human interference. Well, here's our one little sort of look at what the human interference used to look like.
Yeah.
And yeah, as you said, we could go through and name most of them.
Careful. This suit costs more than your education.
Right. This is all very thrilling, but I say we should push on to the village.
Favourite death, Jay. Who's what's your best kill? Favourite kill of the film?
The best kill has to be the Carter one. Hell no, Eddie Carr, dude. It's still like one of the most memorable deaths in the entire franchise. And you know what's one of the best things about it too, or I guess worst thing about it, is that the guy actually was trying to help them out. You know what I mean? He wasn't a villain. He wasn't this. He wasn't that. He was actually trying to help out his friends from falling off a cliff, and the T-Rexes ate him savagely. He died savagely. And then this type of argument can go into what people were arguing with Jurassic World when that Zara chick got eaten by the Mosasaur. And they're like, oh, that was such a savage death. Eddie Carr was a good guy. He tried to help out people from dying. But it doesn't matter. These dinosaurs don't choose you just because you were bad to another human. You're a piece of meat. They're going to eat you, and that's it. So, you know what I mean? This was a great showing of, like, nature doesn't care if you're a great guy. And karma's not real in the world of Jurassic Park. You're dead. Like, it was such an awful death.
And well, yeah, and just again build up. Like he's in that M-class, sort of trying to help, and they're just ripping that thing apart. And he's trying to get to the gun, he can't get it. It's stuck in that fish net, and he just he knows it's coming. He just can't get away from it. You can't hide.
Funny.
There's nothing you can do.
And it's funny too because like a situation where you're that nervous, you can make a simple mistake just like he did. All he needed to do was move the net, move the little part of the gun. And that's it. But he was so nervous and so like because he has two huge dinosaurs. Remember that scene? He just looks. The dinosaur the T-Rex just looks at him and he sees how big those teeth really are. The face, like I don't know the actor's name that plays Eddie, but Eddie just let perfect facial expression of like, oh my god, look at those teeth. You know, like. He knows, like, if he gets that's it. Like, there's no way out of it. You're gonna die. So he just kept pressing the pedal too. He could have easily tried to like get somewhere and try to run or something, but he still was trying to help as much as he could, knowing that his end was right there. Yeah. Such a great scene. Such, like, we got to give like good merits to that character in the film itself, because it's like he could have easily just been like, no, I'm good, kind of like the lawyer, you know. Just be like, I'm out, whatever, don't care. But he was actually the complete opposite. He's like, I know I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna help them as much as I can get this situation rectified.
Yeah, no, it's my favourite as well. Just
it's
everything you've said. Like we discussed in the minute too when we looked at that in the final death. Just he was pulled in half, but he was probably still alive or still conscious when he was swallowed. So just brutal.
I would have to say mine was Dieter's. I mean, sure, being chomped and pulled in half is pretty bad, but I mean, the minute that he was pretty much chomped down that second time after he was swung around, he was dead. He didn't feel being pulled in half. Yep. Dieter felt every single little peck that those combos bit into. He was literally, it was like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Is pretty much what it was. I mean, he was eaten alive by bite by bite, and all they left of him was the parts they didn't like, which I presume was the clothes and bones.
Yeah, and even the sort of the realness to it, like, getting pulled in half, or that would have hurt for a little bit before your brain's screaming and you can't feel anything, but even just some of the visuals leading up to Dieter's demise of just having the compy attached to his lip. Like, you've seen YouTube videos and whatever else of ducks and geese when someone's holding them and all of a sudden they just bite their nose or bite their ear or lip, and it just had, if you know what that feels like, he's got a compy hanging off his lip and he just rips it away.
The death is also a perfect representation of something I love about Sorna. Isla Nublar was the beauty of a tropical island. You can't deny it. They picked some absolutely beautiful locations for the first Jurassic Park movie. But The Lost World is the deadly side of a tropical island. The idea of being lost in the woods and not finding your way back. The idea of that if you take one false step, you tumble down a hill, break your leg, and get eaten. You know?
And the muggy and the fog and just like the mud and the whole like scenery it's just complete opposite of what we saw in Nublar, you know? Yeah. I think the only ugly part of Nublar that we saw was kind of when it was raining and Nedry fell down those like those are like muddy stairs or whatnot, and that's about it. You know what I mean? But that's just because of the rain. Yeah. Here you in Lost World, everything's just like grimy and just like dirty, you know? It's just you get this like icky feeling that like you don't know what you're doing here. And Data Stark really felt that one.
Yeah, and like you mentioned it back when we were talking, when we were in the redwoods, Dave, just the environment inside those redwoods, how it's close, the atmosphere, the sort of the mist and that in the morning or late afternoon, just how it's sort of being on location, just the way it sort of comes across on film, just fantastic.
Yeah, well, something that I brought this up in the minute with where they take that 5-minute break, is there's a stark contrast to the way the redwoods are actually filmed between the first time we see them and the last time we see them. In the fact that the first time we see them, they're beautiful, the sun's shining through, you can hear birds singing in the background. The second time we see them, they're very foggy, it's overcast, and you can't hear any other wildlife around.
Yeah.
Yep. Very good.
We could head back down to the lagoon. And do what? Sit out in the open? Next to a heavily used water source and hope that your captain decides to come back for you?
He won't do that. He knows better.
Then we head for the village. We might find some shelter, and we can call for help. Rex just fed, so he won't stalk us for food.
Just fed? I assume you're talking about Eddie? You might show a little respect. The man saved our lives by giving his.
And then his troubles are over. My point is that predators don't hunt when they're not hungry.
No, only humans do.
Oh, you're breaking our hearts. Saddle up! Let's get this movable feast underway.
second to last one here. We've all read the novels. Is there anything from the novel that you wish made it into the film? We do have some sort of things that were adapted, high-hide, that sort of stuff. We didn't get a high-hide set piece like we did in the novel. But David, anything from the novel that you really wish made it to the film?
This is gonna two things really. The first is really gonna tie more into Jurassic Park 3. I wish we had gotten more of the lab in Jurassic Park 3. I really do. The whole movie itself was like Jurassic Park on speed, but seeing that lab for the raptor attack just would have been so much more beautiful. I love that sequence from the novel, you know. And then the other one is the raptor's nest. I love the raptor's nest set piece from the novel. The idea of them floating the Apatosaurus down into this dried up riverbed and the carcasses strewn all over the place and the babies kind of fighting the adults for any kind of scraps of meat. Yeah. It's a great scene, and it shows how chaotic and disgusting the raptors can be.
Oh yeah.
It's a shame we didn't get some empty nests or something in the boneyard or that before they get to the worker village. We've seen
just kind of some bones.
It was set up. It was set up for that being the raptor nest in the film, but it wasn't there. We know they're in the area. Hammond says they nest in the middle of the island there. So
like it's another. I actually would have loved to have that whole Dotson scene with those that machine that they had with like the sound for the Rexes.
Yep, raiding the animals' nests and stealing the eggs.
Yeah, that thing. And when it like starts, like we get some of those scenes in other movies trickled out, like the arm thing. I guess would be what we saw in Fallen Kingdom.
Yep.
Was it Basilton that gets his arm taken? I haven't read the book in a long time.
Yeah, that's specifics.
One of
the party does. Yeah.
It's been, I think, like 3 years since I read it. But just the mention of Biosyn would have been great to like finally put them in the movie universe. But I don't know. I honestly like that's a good scene that Dave said. Something like that, but then I guess they used.
So some of that stuff
the DX virus.
Used.
Oh, the DX virus, yes, that definitely needs to be made into some future Jurassic material.
Yeah.
I think they might use it for the next one. Maybe it might. It's like their only. I don't know, man. I don't know what they're honestly gonna do, but DX virus should surface somehow. You know, yeah. I thought it was when there was like behind the scenes little video, and I think it's Scallon is the guy that like did the puppetry for Fallen Kingdom. He says that the Indoraptor was sick or something. That's why it has like missing pieces of skin. I'm like, the DX virus. That's instantly came in my head. There's no mention of it at all in the film. But it would have been great because it explained the savagery of the raptors, you know, and so. Yeah.
And it's sort of and it's one of those things where the whole DX tag and release and all that sort of stuff in the novel explains exactly why the animals are loose. We brought it up countless times where in the movie itself you only get a bit of dialogue from Hammond, which. A lot of it doesn't make sense and just sounds like he's saying that to sort of so Malcolm doesn't completely lose it over the fact that there's another island and that like he's trying to break it to him. In a sort of he's sugarcoating it a lot, where he says like the hurricane comes so the animals were released and we had to evacuate. Well, we clearly see from the worker village there's a fence around it. You don't need a fence around a building. There's no fences in the novel because which is odd because they purposely released the animals there, but just having the whole DX thing, having an explanation why the animals were set free, and it would give you sort of something to go back to now. Instead of having the DPG group and that saying, well, the Spinosaur upset the ecosystem on the island or something, and they just started dying out. Or I haven't reread what they said there, but just that whole thing they sort of come up with why the what happened with Sauna and animals there.
Mm-hmm. I will add in a third that I'd like to see is the interpretation of Howard King's death. I just love how you only get to see it through the flashes of lightning. So the way that we see it is just we see flashes of the attack. We don't actually ever see the full attack. We just see the Howard King out in the middle of the grass. Then another flash, we see the raptors closing in. Then another flash, we see the raptors feeding on them. You know?
Huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that would be absolutely terrifying to see.
Well, sort of, you can compare it to how Rexy appears in Fallen Kingdom. Sort of same thing there, where you just get the flashes. Each time you flash, it's moved, it's getting closer, or...
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Fallen Kingdom does use several ideas from the Lost World novel. The idea of the geotagging was also from the Lost World novel.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and then sort of some other things too, like the whole thing on the High Hide, having the raptors attack that, having one of the trailers survive so it can act as a base of operations while they try and figure out how they're going to get off the island, and it's just the way the film was adapted. Them needing to go to the island to communicate with someone to come in, or to Worker Village to communicate, whereas in the novel they were at the Worker Village or close by, and the helicopter hadn't come to pick them up yet. But yeah, I'm just trying to think. A lot of stuff's been sort of loosely adapted, like the Pteranodons, or not necessarily the Avery.
That's why it's hard to decide. Like, it's hard to. What else?
Even like Sarah and, I don't know if it was Kelly or Arby, but mine was Kelly on the motorbike, sort of running with the raptors. You sort of get similar to that with Owen running beside the raptors.
That's definitely where they got that idea.
Yep. I suppose too, I would have preferred the trailer sequence to go more along what happened in the novel, like the whole fact the trailer rolls, the accordion connectors squeezes shut. It's the power turning the lights on that sort of scare the Tyrannosaurs away. You get a bit more of an explanation of what's happening there. And then them having to climb up the undercarriage of the trailer to survive and not just hang by a rope. It would have made the scene a lot longer, I know, and they would have had to condense it, but just stuff like that just sort of fills in some holes.
Yeah.
You don't bring people halfway around the world to visit a zoo. You bring the zoo to them. San Diego is the perfect set. People already associate our beautiful city with animal attractions. San Diego Zoo, SeaWorld, San Diego Chargers.
To end out, final thoughts on the film as a whole. Like we've covered a lot during the record. We've covered a lot during the minutes as well. It's still my favourite film in the franchise.
Mine too. 10 out of 10 Goldblums. Oh, guys, I'm meeting him actually in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to Boston Con. He's going to be there. Yeah, he's going to be there. That's the whole point of me going all the way to Boston.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Kenner Series 2 Malcolm figure. It's still in its box and everything. Hopefully, I don't think he'd be like, no, I don't want to sign that. But hopefully he signs it. And then me and my friend and his girlfriend, my good friend DC Villain and his girlfriend Lori, which was like my best friends. They're big, huge Jurassic nerds just like me. We're all going to do a photo op with Goldblum. So it's going to be cool.
Oh, good work, man. Enjoy it.
But to get back to this, same thing, man. It's still my favorite sequel. I can honestly say it kind of teeter-totters sometimes with Jurassic Park. Most of the time, Lost World is my favorite. It's just it's just a film where it's not nostalgia goggles, how I always hear people say, "Oh, nostalgia goggles, why you like this film?" Or no, I just do. Like the fact that like I said earlier, guys, having these animals kind of roam free, showing these animals were actually loving parents, showing they were throwing in science ideas that were still very there's still theories to this day, but in like there were new fresh ideas where dinosaurs in the first one, they showed them like dinosaurs are fast, dinosaurs with this, dinosaurs with that. But then finding the Maiasaura with the babies, with the eggs and nests that Horner found, that was still new science at the time. We always were thinking there were these cold-blooded creatures that just didn't care about their young. And then we found out for these creatures to roam and own the planet Earth as long as they did, they had to be nurturers and they had to care for their young to a certain age at least. To a certain like mature level where these creatures could adapt, and if they were creatures where they just left their young kind of to fend for themselves really young, the percentage of survival rate for these animals would be great, because there's so many perils of like death in those days and whatnot in that animal kingdom. The animal kingdom was serious and ferocious. Yep. And to have some of these mentions and theories thrown into this movie where we were still very new to the feather idea back then. So, you know what I mean, I feel if like the feather idea was already established, we would have had feathered Jurassic Park dinosaurs when Jurassic Park came out. But it was still very new. So these animals still looked how science feels that they looked at that time. So it's just, I was a big dinosaur nerd back then. I still am, but this is where I was like full-on nerd. Jurassic Park started the obsession with the movies, but at the same time started my paleontology type of quest, because that's what I wanted to be, and I know that was a big thing with a lot of kids back then. Paleontologists. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a paleontologist, and a lot of adults laughed because there's no money in paleontology, and you're never gonna get a girlfriend if you like dinosaurs and all that stuff. I can't tell you how many times being a Jurassic Park fan, that was a thing. I remember when I was a teenager and I had Jurassic Park posters on my wall and this stuff. My friends came over, and I was supposed to meet up with a date or something, and they were like, "Is she coming back here?" I'm like, "Yeah, probably." They're like, "Dude, you gotta take those posters down." What? Like, why? They're like, "Dude, no girl's gonna date you if you like Jurassic Park like that." And I mean, it's just, it's harsh, man, but it's the truth. Like when you're a dinosaur nerd, that's for a long time, like that's things that they put in your head. And this movie came out, you know, when I was like that at the age almost turning teenager. I think I was 11, 12, you know, around there. So like I was going into that stage of teenager, and it's still like this movie hit harder, I feel, than Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park started it, and this one just solidified my love for this franchise completely. Yeah. I loved every aspect of this movie, and I only...
Whoops.
What dinosaur is that?
That's a Ceratosaurus.
Oh,
quite you,
nice.
quite.
Sounds cool.
Like, so you know, just I saw this movie once in the theater, and that's it. I've never seen it again in theater. I didn't go to theater like I do now, that I can just go pay for myself. Back then, I didn't have. I had like allowance money, but I didn't go to theater that much. And we went with my uncle on Memorial Day. We went on the premiere. So it had such an impact from one viewing that I couldn't wait till it came out on video. And when it did, I must have, I think my family tried to hide that videotape so many times because it was always on the TV. Always on the TV. And I would have scenes paused on the TV. And back then with the VCR, it's not like now with Blu-ray, like it's such a clear scene, boom, it's right there. Back then with VCR, you had those streamlines in front of the scene, you know? When you're like moving rewind or forwarding the tape, you have those lines
I said I remember them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was, you just have that on there, and you're just like, I'd watch those scenes, because then I'd build my own little like village parts, and like I would draw scenes from the movie. I didn't have a computer then, so I didn't have these like screen caps that I wanted. So it's like, I don't know, man. My thoughts on this film is just, I absolutely love this film, and nothing in all these years and 20 years of this film has changed my mind. There's been 3 other sequels after this film, and they still don't even touch it, don't even go near it, in the sense of like what they're bringing for the story and characters and all that. It just, you know what I mean, if anything, out of the 3 that we've seen in the last few years, or the last like 14 years, I guess it'd be, with Jurassic Park 3, Jurassic World, and Jurassic World 2, Fallen Kingdom, I think if anything, Jurassic World was the one that got me a little emotional, and it hit me a little harder than the other 2. But other than that, Lost World is still number 1.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. I wasted count of whole rolls of film standing in front of that VHS for Lost World taking photos on screen, because again, VHS, there's no print screen or photos, all that stuff back then. So, and just being excited, and getting film developed, getting the film and the photos back, and just having the flash taking a bright photo of the TV.
Yeah.
Just the screen completely black. It's like, what? No. That was $30. No. But
it's so easy now.
As you said, like even on the computers, even like, because 97, I think we got our first computer, the old Pentium 2, and it just Microsoft Paint and being able to do straight lines and that, just the different versions of the operations building I was doing in Paint, and just stuff like that. Like it just consumed my life.
Mhm.
I've done a 192 page fanfic of doing my own little version of Lost World, just sort of stuff like that. Just at school, having the novel around for me everywhere, the making of the Lost World carrying around for me everywhere. Just it just consumed my life like no other film has ever to this date.
And one of my favorite books that they came out with, there was the Lost World scrapbook. I love that. It's still to this day like one of the best like film books. Like it has all the characters, has a bunch of like weird dinosaur end of the world theories at the end. It was like aliens took them is one theory. I was like, what? And it had all these facts, and like movie facts and dinosaur facts, and it had like little dinosaur pictorials where it just talked about the certain dinosaur, and then it just had all these like pictures that you didn't see in the film. It has a huge map of Sorna with like a red like ink showing like that's where they're gonna go. It's such a great book, and what came out, like the merchandise and just everything that came out along with Lost World was just so great. You know, they expanded on everything.
The merchandising campaign was phenomenal for the Lost World.
They were.
I don't think I've ever seen anything quite equal to it since.
Yeah.
Mattel's trying, and they're doing a good job so far, but they've got a little way to go yet. Like again, Explorers, the InGen roundup vehicles, the M-Class and the RVs. Let's see what you can do there. But dinosaur-wise, like again, apart from they're not really having that latex or real feel skin, apart from the mosasaur, it's just all fantastic stuff that's coming out at the moment. But
yeah, I forgot to ask you guys. Have you guys gotten the Suchomimus?
Not yet.
No.
It's an incredible. It's definitely one of my favorites, man. It's on my desk right now. Like if you guys get the chance to see it or able to catch it online, get it. It is a fantastic figure. Mm-hmm. Very well done. It's so cool looking, and like it's a lot. When you get it, it's a lot bigger than you thought it was. It's bigger than the Baryonyx, and it's smaller than the T-Rex. Yeah, it's in between. It's probably bigger than the. It's a little bit bigger than the Carnotaurus. It's around the same size.
Oh, all right.
God, I still need to get that.
Sorry.
Toy tangent. Dave, final thoughts on the film?
10 out of 10 Malcolms. Seriously though, it is my favorite film in the franchise, and deservedly so. I mean, the atmosphere alone. I mean, people talk about atmosphere in a movie, and in Lost World, you can cut it with a knife. It's that thick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you probably need a machete to get through it. This film is honestly my Jurassic Park. I was born the same year as Jurassic Park was, so The Lost World was my first real, not first introduction, but my first memorable introduction into the Jurassic Park franchise. It's the movie I remember growing up with. Yeah. And not to say Jurassic Park is bad. I probably watched both just as many times as I've watched, but The Lost World is the movie that I was fascinated with. It's the movie I had the toys for. It's the movie that I used to pretend I was playing when I was a little kid with my little Disney bolt-action rifle. But The Lost World was a huge part of my childhood, and I'm very happy that I got to review it 1 minute at a time with you guys.
Yeah, I'm just glad after the 20th anniversary. Like before that, it wasn't discussed a lot. A lot of fans, I won't say fans, but a lot of people sort of didn't see it as a very good film. And since that the 20th anniversary, a lot more fans have come forward.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more discussion about it. We got the podcast here. In social media, you see a lot of people, and surprisingly, a lot of people when they do their rankings of the franchise, you see a lot that have Lost World at the top, which I'd definitely give them a like to support.
Yeah.
So it's just great to see, and I think as time goes on, especially once we start getting some Kenner toys in the Legacy line from the Lost World as well. Right, you'll see a lot more people jumping on board and enjoying it a lot more too.
We need to get it back at least for like a day in theaters across America.
That needs to happen.
And Australia too. The world.
It'll never happen. It'll never happen here.
Because I know across the pond in England, they had it as a special feature at one of their theaters. I know the guys from Jurassic Outpost and a couple of guys from Jurassic Park podcast. They some of them live in England in Europe, and they were able to catch it. And I haven't seen it since I was like I said 11, 12 years old. It's due time that I need to see it in theaters again. I never got to see Jurassic Park in theaters, so I got to go see the 3D release, which is excellent, even though I'm not the biggest fan of 3D, but it was good to see it in the big screen finally and hear the T-Rex roar, vibrate through the chair, basically.
Oh, yeah, just the sound.
Oh, my God, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But to see Lost World again on the big screen would just make... If it was this year, it'd make my entire year, because it would just be one of the best things ever. I'd go dressed up as Malcolm and buy a whole bunch of popcorn and just sit there and try to see as many viewings of it as again, because who knows when we'll see it again in theaters, if it happens.
Yeah.
So we have to. It has to be brought up to. It's one of Spielberg's films. We have to just start hassling him for the next 3 years.
We do.
Because I really hope that there's a lot of rumors where, and we've kind of noticed it with the New World series. It's it's not really retconned, but it's not it's really mentioned. It's kind of let's kind of just leave number 2, number 3 out of this a little bit. We'll say they exist, but we won't really give them any recognition, and I don't like that. Lost World is. More than ever now, it's more important with whatever's going on in Fallen Kingdom, because we already seen what a rampage of dinosaurs through a city is. So it's
it's like having Malcolm back as well. Like everyone, Malcolm's back. I wonder if he's going to be sassy like he was in Jurassic Park. Well, he was a not a side character, but a part of an ensemble in Jurassic Park, where the Lost World, he was there, he was at the front, he was top billed, and everything else. Like, that was his movie to control, and sort of, and here, and like in Fallen Kingdom, it's sort of back like that. Malcolm again, he's not. They haven't just retconned it that he's back into that cheery, lovable thing, the person we've seen in Jurassic Park. He's still experiencing, like, again, we don't know how much he petitioned or any of his thoughts on the fact that Jurassic World exists. We can sort of, going off what we've seen of him previously, we can sort of assume, right, well, he's definitely not going to be on board with it. Whether he's just waiting in the background to come out and say, I told you so, or that line that never even turned up in the film. Well, here we are talking about dinosaurs again. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It was in the trailer, but was never in the film, so...
I'm wondering if he made more than one book, you know?
Yeah.
Because the book that we see in Jurassic World, I think, is his first book, because on the book jacket, it's the Malcolm from 97.
Yeah.
You know? So, you know, it's probably the first book, but let's say he made another book and just on when Jurassic World started and just completely against it. And, you know, we don't know, or lectures or something. You know he wasn't going to keep his mouth shut about Jurassic Park if they made Jurassic World.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, and sort of Eric alludes to it when he's with Grant in the water tanker in Jurassic Park 3. It's sort of, we know Grant had a book before Jurassic Park, as Tim mentions it. And then sort of Eric says to Grant, I've read your book. And sort of, you liked dinosaurs back then, and he said, well, back then they hadn't tried to eat me yet, which sort of implies that he wrote another one after that he... Maybe Grant and Ian both wrote books post Jurassic Park, and maybe even post Lost World, but yeah, it's just one of those things. It's funny to sort of find out where or what actually happened in canon there. It's not really explained ever, but anyway, we've just hit 3 hours. We need to stop. Any final thoughts on, I suppose, any last things you want to mention about the film before we get out of here for the week?
Yeah, I will say that after Jurassic Park 3D in 2013, I had hoped for at least the Lost World to have gotten a release as well. Sadly, that has not been. But I have yet to see the Blu-ray version, but from what I've seen, it's immaculately been cleaned up. And I gotta get my hands on it. Even if I can't view it in pure 4K, I gotta get my hands on it.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Like, I brought the 3-pack, the trilogy, when it was released on Blu-ray. It's still on my shelf in the wrapping, in the foil. But it's sort of, I've got the DVDs, and I've got a copy burnt off the DVDs on my iPad that I always watch. And it's sort of, you always got that lower quality because, frankly, I don't understand why you'd buy a HD movie on a mobile device to start with and pay that extra money, but just the fact that Blu-rays are sitting there, and I've never sat down and watched any of the films on Bluray. So.
Oh, you got to, man.
Yeah, I'm going to make that a purpose.
The sound quality is excellent. The picture quality is excellent. It's a great experience.
I
remember. You'll hear things you've never heard before.
Yeah.
And not only that, you also to buy it for the special features, that whole Back to Jurassic special feature that they have. Not the making of Lost World, it's on there too, but they did a whole other one where they sat with the actors and Spielberg and they're talking back about, like, going back to Jurassic Park, and they go from Jurassic Park to Lost World to Jurassic Park 3. And it's great. It's that featurette is phenomenal. So great.
It's my favorite featurette, Jurassic Park featurette that we've ever gotten. I've got it actually twice. I've got it both the Blu-ray version and the DVD version. So I can watch the DVD version, the special features on my computer and screen cap the crap out of it, and then watch the movies on Blu-ray on my Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
It's great.
My afternoon's made up for me then.
Oh yeah, man. And you know, it's another cool featurette that it's not on DVD though, and it's not on Blu-ray. It's still on VHS, but you can get it for like probably I don't know, like $1 now on eBay. It's making hold up a second. The real Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, that's one. You can find that on YouTube, I think.
Can you?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, because I have the VHS of it, and I got it a long time ago. So I was like, what is this? Whatever. I'll get it. It was.
Sorry, go ahead.
It came because back in the day when you used to order something from eBay, you can buy something like a whole pack of stuff for like under nothing. Now you can only get like one item, but like it was in with a couple of other things of Jurassic Park, and I'm like, what is this? And it was still in like it's a wrap or whatever, the plastic wrap.
Yep.
I took it out and I watched it. I put it in an old VHS, and awesome documentary. Yes, it's dated. It's old because it's like from 1993, and it's like they're talking about dinosaurs then. It's like Jack Horner. You got Robert Backer on there. You got them explaining how Jurassic Park would really happen. They go to San Diego Zoo, which is pretty funny that they actually go to that zoo. It's so great. And it's not Jurassic Park, but it is Jurassic Park related because it's a Nova special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's sort of one thing. You sit there and say like it's outdated and that, but you think it's them. It's like it's set there, like it's there. It's them recording. It's them talking about what they know then.
At that time, yeah.
If they made a behind the scenes now, it'd be Spielberg and that talking about what they remember from them from back then. It's sort of it'd be different. Whereas they're talking about theories and that they're just coming up with now and not having another 20 years of knowledge on top of it. They're talking about all that stuff there, where now it'd be sort of bogged down and you'd probably have a little bit more fluff in there as well. So.
So like those are two good suggestions right there. Watch the Blu-rays, watch that documentary on YouTube.
Yep.
Let me. Actually, I was looking for it as I was just talking. You're right, Dave. It's on. Sorry, it's on YouTube. So you can see it. Yeah.
All right, we might chat about that a little bit next week. I might go and have a look at it. Yeah, so that's us done. It's going to be get these out this week. And then next week we'll probably just do a record. We might think of a discussion topic about the film and see what we come up with next week. Get some feedback from the fans on the Facebook page as well, so keep an eye on that. Jay, thank you very much for joining us for this late half of the film. It's been great having you on, having that third perspective from a fan. So thanks a lot for that. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Well, half an hour from now, John Hammond's dream, reimagined, will come true. For 1/100th the cost of building a destination resort thousands of miles away.
I believe I've spent enough time in the company of death.
All right, guys. Let's get the hell out of here.
What's everybody looking at?
Tonight we'll christen Jurassic Park San Diego with a mega attraction to drive turnstile numbers to rival any theme park.
Site B was not only a theme park, but a research station. This was where we did the real work.
What do you think you were going to document? What do you think you were going to see?
It is absolutely imperative that we work with the Costa Rican Department of Biological Preserves to establish a set of rules for the preservation and isolation of that island. These creatures require our absence to survive, not our help. And if we could only step aside and trust in nature, life will find